Let's take a look at California.
Go watch that video in its entirety to see each of the different cases where there's like mass theft going on. And I want you to keep in mind that a lot of people, and I used to think the same way, shoplifting is really bad and everybody that does it is just a degenerate and it's just wrong regardless. And over the past few years here, my attitudes have changed on that as I've gotten more information and seen more things. So I would like to refer to what's going on currently with corporations as corporate advertising. They're pushing this propaganda to the general public to make you hate your fellow man because they're shoplifting. And I'm at a point now where I don't care how much it is. I don't care if somebody robs half the store. I don't anymore. Because when I see what these companies are making and then they report their loss, I have a video I'm going to do later on talking specifically about Walmart, I think it is. Walmart makes billions and billions of dollars, right? The Walmart empire is making so much money, but they're not paying their employees very well. They pay better than some other people, yes, but they could afford to do better. They could afford to do a lot better. Their loss for, I think it was 2022, I don't have those facts in front of me right now, so I am trying to vaguely remember, but I think it was $262 million. Now, I know a lot of you, and I've talked about this in other videos, you see the percentages, they say, we lost 1% of our revenue to shoplifting. You're like, oh my God, that's a lot. Or you say that's not that much, and so they tweak those numbers and the speech they're using in their propaganda to you to make it sound like it's much worse than it is. When I hear a company like Walmart loses $2.62 million to shoplifting in a year, but I hear they made 80 billion or something to that degree, or even 2 billion, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. Loss is something that business have to run acceptable. I run a small business. Even though I don't have customers in a shop because I run an e-commerce business, I still have to expect that I'm going to lose about 10% of my money to things like shrink. That happens in e-commerce. I'll be glad to explain how that happens. But if you want to hear that, leave a comment. But due to shrink, due to returns, due to damaged product, due to lost product, I face all the same things that a major corporation like Walmart does. I'm a smaller scale, yes. The difference is when your 1% is shifted down to making far less, it is a bigger impact. When you're making billions and billions of dollars, though, it's just not as bad. What we're seeing, if you want to know what's in those videos, I'll tell you my opinion on what we're seeing. What we're seeing is people that are tired of not being able to afford anything, and they're just taking it. And the secondary of that is we have ingrained in people's minds, especially minority groups, unfortunately, hustle culture. Most likely they're stealing that stuff to resell because they're trying to make a decent living is what they're trying to do, and other stuff is not panning out. And when you have to start making choices about whether to steal to eat or to starve, you're going to steal to eat. And I don't care what anybody says. These people are not living lavishly. That's been disproven a number of times. The type of clothing you're wearing does not mean you're living lavishly. I'm not, to give you an example, I'm not living lavishly. I wear mall brand jeans that retail $20 to $30. I don't buy them for near that. I buy them at thrift. And a lot of people buy their clothing used, and it's fancier clothing because they can get it at half or a quarter of the rate. And, another rabbit hole for you as I do online selling, sorry guys, is that a lot of these companies gate people out of reselling their products even used. They try to force you not to sell their clothing used because they don't want the poors having it. There's no better reason that. They say it hurts revenue. How? You weren't going to sell a used pair of jeans. They were used. How is it hurting your revenue? And they're arguing, well, because somebody could have bought it new, but they can't afford to. And they're slicing that market out. So there is just so much to this. Stop blaming people for shoplifting and really start asking why, and stop settling on the answer of just because there's thieves. This is different than a lot of issues. A lot of the crime you're seeing is different than it was in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, or even the early 2000s. It is much different. A lot of time has gone by since then. And this is going to continue. You're going to see people doing this. It's gotten bad enough that an article came out citing, and I'll try to source it for you guys on a later video because I have a lot more stuff coming out, but that the Dollar Tree in particular is going to be dropping their prices back down to $1 because the $1.25 price point did not help them. And apparently they saw an increase in shoplifting when they went to $1.25, and they're thinking that going back to $1 will stop that. So leave your comments for what you guys think about this. It's not so much a debate, but I just want to hear your thinking. If you have something extremely negative, please try to repackage what you're going to say as delicately as possible so it's not just an argument. I want to hear your actual thinking about why you're negative against these people and how you think it affects you. I'll be glad to dispel any of those things that you may have been fed. But I want you to seriously think about your answers if you plan on answering negatively. Don't go with the knee-jerk reaction. Just think think it out.